Beautiful. We are backstage right now. We are about a half a minute out from starting on River West Radio. So we've got Ability MKE now live on the radio for 29 minutes. And we are at about 25 seconds from showtime. So please stand by. You're going to love our guest tonight. In 10 seconds. Welcome to Ability MKE Now. My name is Sue Roscoff. Ability MKE Now is a show all about integration, bringing people with disabilities and people that don't have a disability together, enjoying life here in the Milwaukee area. We all have different abilities, and here at Ability MKE Now, we dive into this topic of diverse abilities. The concept of disability has a wide range of possibilities. We could be talking about physical or mental disabilities, the deaf and hard of hearing community, blindness, chronic pain, mental health diagnosis, goals of substance use reduction, and the list goes on. We all have our own experience with disability, whether it's our own, with people we know, or with people we encounter in our everyday lives. Here at Ability MKE Now, we break down the barriers and celebrate the ability in all of us. And joining us today as my co-host is Michael Martin Hummel. Michael is a writer, speaker, and podcaster who works to bridge the gap between disabled and able-bodied people. Michael, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me. It's always good to see you.
Always good to see you too. And any news in your corner of the world?
And probably a week and a little like a week and a half, I have my next show. I do a speaking engagement for people with disabilities and people within the community of disabled people who like do 25 minutes to speak on a certain subject or a theme. And the next one is on the 26th.
So 26th of September, 2025. Mark your calendars,
Yes.
it's coming up. Excellent. Thank you so much for sharing, Michael. And help me welcome in. We have a wonderful featured guest here tonight. We have Dennis Schroader Sr., who founded the Price of Freedom Foundation in April of 2019. The nonprofit organization serves Gold Star and military survivor families, friends, and colleagues of those who died in military service to our nation by conducting in-depth research into the life of their fallen loved one, writing and publishing full biographies, creating documentary videos, and sharing those stories to as wide an audience as possible. I am so incredibly excited to have Dennis joining us today. How are you? And welcome.
I am very well, and I'm honored to be on your show. Thank you so very much for having me.
So, can you give us a little more history here? What is your background? I know you've got some military background yourself that goes quite a long ways back. You want to give us some
Yes,
background on you?
yes, absolutely. Well, I was born into a Navy family in 1956, so that lets you know I'm about 69 years old. My father served in the Navy until I was about high school age. He retired in Tacoma, Washington, and I uh, really had a desire to join the Navy. Served in the Sea Cadets while in high school, kind of a thing like a JROTC sort of thing, and was crushed when I applied for an ROTC scholarship, a Navy ROTC scholarship to go to college. And they said, you have defective color vision, therefore you can be a Marine and not a blue water Navy man. And after I got over that, the Army had offered me a scholarship as well. So I accepted that scholarship and was commissioned in 1978 as a Medical Service Corps officer. Served until 2000, retired, settled in the Tacoma, Washington area. 11 years later, was asked to return to active duty and served at Fort Knox, Kentucky, for 2 years as a retiree, brought back on. And it's like I'm one of those old guys that if they still let the old busted up guys like me serve, I'd still be in uniform today. But that's what brought me to where I currently live in the Middle Tennessee area. And it's really that background that growing up in the 60s and 70s, and as a kid, seeing what was going on with the Vietnam War and seeing what was happening after the war and how our nation really treated returning veterans, that I was surprised and pleasantly in the 80s while I was serving to see a sea change in how the nation treated those who were serving. I felt it myself. And there's a lot of things that could be credited to that. There's a couple of movies that I remember, Top Gun and An Officer and a Gentleman were two that I saw that seemed to change how people in general looked at us. And I felt it because instead of being simply ignored when they'd see me in uniform, people would say, well, thank you for serving. And that was great. Um, it wasn't until after I retired and after the Gulf War started that I started to notice that there were, again, it was a positive thing, but it was in certain magazines. I was a subscriber to GQ and Esquire magazines, and I would see in there some pretty in-depth articles about service members who had died, and it was a positive thing, unlike what I'd expected from them 20 years prior. Um, but my thought was, what about all the others? What about all the others? Because in every one of those articles, there would be a description of the combat that happened, and the person they were talking about was not the only person who died in that particular engagement. So it just troubled me for a long, long time. And I started to do a little bit of digging around to say, well, there's got to be somebody that's giving, digging in and telling more than what you're going to read on, a tribute during a Memorial Day or something like that, which is basically a short synopsis of their military service. And I said, I couldn't find anybody. There's few individual families that have done a remarkable job of telling their loved one's story. I mean, there's certainly, we all know those handful of folks that have had movies made of them, etc. But the vast majority uh, basically uh, get lost in the dustbin of history. And I just felt that that was just not acceptable. And so that's really what started me on the path of creating the nonprofit, because it's not just their military story. I wanted to be able to talk about what was this person like as a child? What sort of things interested them? What were they good at? What did they struggle with? What things influenced them? How did they influence the people and the world around them before they ever joined the military? And if they were anything like me and the soldiers that I knew, we had lives outside the military. We had interests that we had that I wanted to explore. I wanted to be able to tell the complete story of who this person was for a couple of purposes. Number one, it's for the family that was left behind. Because when you think about it, there's only one person who really knows your story, and that's you. And when you're gone, it takes a lot of people to come and bring the pieces together. And nobody's really bringing these pieces together for these families on a consistent basis. I wanted to write the books so that it would be something that could be passed down to future generations. So they wouldn't have to be 20, 30 years from now, a grandchild saying, what about granddad or that uncle, et cetera, and then have to try and pull that together for themselves again. I want to tell these stories in video documentary form because I really want people in the larger population to get a sense of the truth about who these soldiers and sailors and airmen really were. And truthfully, they're just like myself or any of my other fellow living veterans because we all took that same oath. And there's nothing that really distinguishes those that died from those that survived, other than the fact that somebody got the bad end of an attack by the enemy, but or that died through an accident, or that let's talk about. I am not afraid to talk about suicide as well because I want those stories to be told as well. It's something that we still, in many cases, have trouble discussing. And I want those stories to come out. And what we want to be apolitical because every person that I knew came from different places, different races, different ethnicities, different political ideologies. We all serve the nation, and that's the commonality, and that's what I want to be able to focus on. The writers that we have on our volunteer team, basically, I tell the story truthfully and honorably, and that's it. We have no other agenda. So that's a
Absolutely
lot.
love it.
Sorry.
No, that is inspiring. Well, this is one thing I don't know that you're aware that Kurt and I are both ambassadors for an organization called Project Die Hard, and that is all about combating the veteran suicide epidemic. It's unbelievable to me how prevalent that is, and that you're
It
out there
is.
telling their stories. I absolutely love it.
So I am familiar with Project Die Hard. I did not realize you guys are ambassadors for that. I love that organization, what it's doing, and I'd love to see more collaboration between nonprofits. Because I think it only really helps people that we're serving. If we can, at least have an awareness of, well, gosh, these folks can do that for you.
Exactly. Yeah, that's where together, oh my gosh, Brian Gibson is the gentleman who is the founder of Project Die Hard. And if I could count the number of times he said, teamwork makes the dream work. And
Mhm.
really that it takes, not one person can do everything themselves. We all need to bring our special piece that we can provide. And that's where together we can make a difference. And it
Absolutely.
sounds cliche, but it's true.
Yes, it is true. It really is. And I mean, we've published one book. We're working on four others. We're in the research phase currently. Um, and what I've found is that it's the process of working with these families and the friends of the loved of the fallen that it's what happens when we're talking with them, when they're finding out information, when we're supporting them through their re-grieving process, that that's not in the book. And we're not filming that. So it's like, I don't know how to tell that story, but it is what really motivates me because it's every single person that I have interviewed for the primarily the first story we've completed found out something that they didn't know about their loved one. And it was so gratifying to be able to have them acknowledge that, hey, I never would have known this if it hadn't been for us going through this process. And I think every family really deserves that. And I think especially those that died in service to our nation. My vision will have to happen after, beyond my years, but I have a global vision for this because I think that this should be something that is done for every person that really puts their life on the line for the sake of others. We're talking about firefighters, law enforcement, our first responder community. I'd love to be able to offer this to those veterans who served and survived. I'd love to be able to do something like this internationally because this is not simply an American value. This is a human value, I believe, and I think uh, I just think that we've got the technology available to make it's much easier to do that kind of research today than it ever has been in the past. And we should do this.
And that's where your foundation, the name of it, it means so much. The Price of Freedom Foundation. And truly,
Yeah.
I think that that's perfect, because to keep that in our minds of there is a price that has been paid by so many that I think it's so easy to just, forget about that, and take that for granted but it's a real, oh my gosh, is it a real thing? It's it's perfect. And how was it that you came up with the name? Was there something that led you specifically to that?
Well, I think there was when I decided I needed to do this, I didn't have a name in mind at all. I was basically talking with fellow veterans that, I said, hey, have you ever heard of any other organization do this? Because I wanted to go work, volunteer for them. And they said, no, no, no. In fact, I'll clean it up for the airwaves here. I had a female Marine Corps drill sergeant retired who said, to me, love the idea, Dennis. Get off your butt and make it happen. She used different words, but
Mhm.
anyway, so it's like I've got to at least give it a shot. I got to do what I can do, and I spent the next 7 months trying to find people who would be willing to be on my board of directors, because at least here in the state of Tennessee, you have to have a board of directors to before you can even file paperwork to start the organization.
Wow.
So it was in that process and talking to, and this is of course pre-COVID, when we had lots and lots and lots of face-to-face networking events. And Nashville being, pretty big city, it was easy for me to get there and do maybe 2 or 3 different events a week. And it was in that process of talking to people and finding 7 people that were willing to say, yes, I'm willing to help you with this. We started to kick around the ideas of that. And the price of freedom is more than simply those who passed away. And it's not unique to me and to us. But it's like that's what we wanted to focus on, is that there is freedom has a price, and people, it's frequently paid in blood, and that is why we wanted to focus on that, because it was implied that we're talking about those who served in the military and that had died in that service. And that's kind of our logo was inspired around that too. Our logo shows something that's familiar to most. It's gloved hands with a triangular folded American flag. So that's what's presented at a military funeral. But we added a book that was underneath the flag, so to imply what we're doing, that we're creating these stories in book form. So that's it took us way longer than I thought it would to come up with that, but
Oh, it's brilliant. It
thank
it
you.
speaks volumes. That's what oh my gosh, I absolutely love that. So, is there a website that the organization
Yes,
has?
we do. It is uh, probably not surprising, www.priceoffreedomfoundation.org.
Okay,
.org. So,
perfect.
and we have presence on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube, but Facebook is probably where most of our followers are.
Excellent. Oh my goodness. So, with your vision moving forward with this, what are your goals then for? Because I mean, when I think about how many are in the military and what the potential is here, what are you looking forward to as you proceed with this?
Well, what I'd like to be able to do is to complete the next 4 books. I'd like to be able to find some connections where we could turn the materials that we have into documentaries. The cost to produce each of these uh, is astronomical to people who have never been in that industry. So when I tell folks that it costs us about $12,000 to $15,000 to research and write a book without paying an author, they're shocked.
Yeah.
And then when I tell them that the lowest cost that I've been quoted by a untested filmmaker to do a 1 hour documentary is $30,000. It's like people are shocked again. But those are the realities, and the reason, and 30,000 is actually pretty small, because for our first book, the first story we've completed, we have more than 44 hours worth of video, just video of the interviews that we've done, videos that the family shared, videos of the ceremonies that the Navy had for the service member when he passed. And for somebody to be able to go through all of that and to be able to decide, okay, we're going to take this piece here, this piece here, and that piece there, and weave this story in video form. There's a reason why filmmakers that are good demand a high price, because that is a tough business to do. I guarantee that not even the family members want to sit through 44 hours of unedited video.
Yeah,
So,
it's so worth it in the end to be able to have that.
yes.
That truly, that's priceless to have that and to be able to remember and celebrate the individuals.
Oh, yes. One of the things that we did for the first book, and we intend to do for every book we publish, is to do a actual presentation of that book to the family, because we do give these materials to them at no cost and give multiple copies so they can have to pass down to future generations. But we did this last August, or well, a year ago, August, in San Diego on the deck of the USS Midway. The sailor that we were honoring served on that ship twice during his career, and it was just a moving thing, and it was the family has continued to be in touch with us. They've participated in some of the things that we do to get the word out about what we do, and they continually tell us how glad they were that they decided to work with us to make this happen for them and for their family, and how healing it's been for a number of them.
Oh, that's what I can only imagine how therapeutic it truly is for all the family members and friends that are left behind. That because
Oh,
losing
absolutely.
a service person is traumatic for every, that I feel like I'm understating it, that
Oh,
it's
yeah.
so
And
hard.
I think the people who work with especially combat veterans will
Mhm.
probably say the same thing. That is, there is a therapeutic value to telling the story about what they encountered that was traumatic to them. Because so many of us, I mean, at least in my generation, it was like, oh, you keep everything inside. You soldier on. You tough it out. And I had a conversation for some essentially part of what we're doing here. It's with a Vietnam era veteran who poo-pooed his service, and he was. I mean, I've known him now for about 7 years, but tried to get him to sit down and do a recorded interview about that. And he said he had 30 seconds of combat, and that was it. And it was like he that 30 seconds of combat involved him shooting and killing three North Vietnamese army soldiers that to him looked like kids. And what he told me afterwards is gave me a big old bear hug. A couple of days later, when I saw him again, he said that, Dennis, for 50 years, I've had a nightmare every night seeing those three faces. And after we had that conversation, that's the first night I did not see those faces. And it's like, so I can't guarantee that those kind of things will happen for folks, but I know one that it did. And I experienced it not even thinking that that was going to be the case, but I am pretty certain that when I interview the military friends of the fallen, that they get something out of this in maybe not quite as dramatic a fashion, but they get something out of it as well. Just the telling
Absolutely.
of the story.
to be able to share that. Sometimes just being heard makes that difference, that, you know, we all have our own memories, our own experiences, and to be able to, I mean, you're putting value to it. It's not just forgotten. There's absolute value that you're providing there.
Yes, absolutely. I agree. So
Oh, such a great thing. And I know we do have Marianne in the background here as well. So, Marianne, if you want to come on in and say hello when you're ready, I absolutely welcome that. But Dennis, I just want to continue to give praise to all the things you're doing here with the Price of Freedom Foundation. Marianne, if you want to come on in, Marianne's also an author, so some definite connecting points here. What's going on in the world of Marianne of Waikiki today?
Aloha, Milwaukee, and thank you so much, Sue, for having me here, and Michael, your co-host. I am Marianne of Waikiki. It's my sign language name, my book author name. I'm the author and Apple game developer of the Acts of Kindness series, featuring 200 folk manus puppets. So my books are written for animation movies with sign language characters and a soundtrack by Lucy and the Perfect Wave for ocean cleanup, especially of the Great Pacific Garbage Patch between Hawaii and California. And we dedicated that book to Boynton Slat of the Ocean Cleanup. Our second book, Rabbit Acts of Kindness, No Bully, which is October, is anti-bullying month. And it's back to school season, Sue. So all classroom teachers can get copies of our books from an organization called Donors Choose. So I know last week I contacted your husband, Kurt, and said, hey, there's a Milwaukee teacher needing some support. And well, it was Milwaukee, Oregon. I didn't know there was such a place, but
I
I
didn't
know
either.
there's teachers out there requesting products. And we had a special education teacher request my book. She was funded in 2 weeks. So, hey, Milwaukee listeners, teachers, parents, DonorsChoose.org is an amazing organization. And last year they donated $25,000 from Subaru, Hawaii to support schools. And in 2019, Good Morning America raised millions of dollars. So DonorsChoose.org, support a teacher, support a classroom, build a future. And our third book is Righteous Acts of Kindness, featuring Pono the Hawaiian Polo Pony. And our fourth book is dedicated to Leon McLaughlin Clean Water Foundation out of Seattle, Washington. The book is called Cool Acts of Kindness for Climate Change, featuring our new character, Waterflow the whale, and for the love of water. So anybody can join us and meet us on the World of Ability podcast every Saturday with your husband, Kurt Roscoff, and Sue Roscoff. And great thanks to Jay Stoyan of the Disability Channel out of Toronto. So we have good things that are happening, and the website where you can see all this amazing work, and clicks to a YouTube channel to meet Dr. Fingers, the finger spelling hermit crab, Eve, the finger spelling bumblebee, and Chelsea, the courageous sign language chicken, and Apple App Games. And our tagline is "So go out and play." Thank you so much, and adios. Mahalo. In Milwaukee, I'm Marianne of Waikiki.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Marianne. And Dennis, as we are winding down here, just want to give you a chance to come back, and any final thoughts you'd like to share.
I just, well, final shots would be that I'm appreciative of the ability to get this message out. We're definitely looking for more families that we can serve, and volunteers to help us with that. And I really want to find out more about what you guys are doing, because I know that I have some people that in my life that have been wrestling with some pretty significant challenges to their physical abilities for years and years. And what you're doing, I think, is absolutely wonderful, and I'm appreciative of it.
Excellent. Well, Dennis, I cannot thank you enough for joining us here tonight. This again is Dennis Schroader of the Price of Freedom Foundation, and all the things that you are doing to help our veterans. I'm excited to see where this all goes and how many people will be served in the process. And as always, Marianne, Michael, so glad to have you with us. My name again is Sue Roscoff. I'm with the Disability Channel and AbilityMKE Now. As always, we thank you.